With this photograph, I want to share with you a wonderful technique that you can use in order to come up with some interesting color effects. And the technique takes advantage of what's called apply image. Now, apply image may seem a little bit abstract or esoteric, yet that being said, I have photographer friends who use apply image literally on every image that they process in Photoshop. So let me show you how we can tap into the strength of this particular technique inside of Photoshop. Well, first off, we need to copy that background layer. So let's do that by pressing Command or Control J. Next up, let's name this layer. So we'll double click the name there. We'll go ahead and name this one Apply Image, just to keep us on track with what we're doing. And then from here, we'll navigate to our Image pull-down menu. And then we're going to select Apply Image. And for most of us, this may not be something that we've ever even seen or used before. So let's click that option to open up our dialog. Well, here you can see this dialog is divided up a couple of different ways. Currently, it's applying this from this particular source, which is this layer here. And then we have the merge view, RGB channel, and then we have some blending options. Well, these blending options are our different blending modes. And what typically works best is soft light. So let's choose soft light. And here we can see with this RGB channel, if we look at our before and after, we have a pretty typical soft light blending, which increases contrast and also color saturation. Yet where things get really interesting and how people really use this is by tapping into the different channels. And each image will respond differently, so you're going to need to experiment with this one. But let's go ahead and take a look at the red channel. Well, all of a sudden we have this pretty distinct aesthetic here. Take a look. Here's that before and then after. Well, what about if we compare that to the green channel? Again, a very different look comparatively. And then also the blue channel, something even different. So what you'll want to do is experiment. Go through these different channels. Try to find one that you think looks interesting. And keep in mind that this technique works on all different types of images, whether landscape or people photography or automotive photography, you name it. This can add that distinct color effect that you might be looking for. Well, the next thing you want to do is lower your opacity here. The easiest way to do that is to hover over the opacity name and then just lower this until you dial it in. Of course, you want to evaluate your before and after. Now, whenever you're creating an effect like this with a dialog which is pretty limited, in other words, there aren't a lot of controls, what I like to do is actually leave this pretty high. I like to overdo the effect just a bit because I've created this on a separate layer. And because this is on its own layer, I can control the opacity or even further blending for that matter here. Well, in this case, we'll simply click OK in order to apply this. We'll evaluate that before and then after. And again, if I want to dial this back here, all I need to do is lower that opacity. I can bring back some of the original file in there so that the effect is a little bit more subtle. Now with this particular image, I think it looks best all the way up at 100%. Although it's nice to point out that you do have that flexibility if you need it. Alright, well let's evaluate the overall before and after, and let's zoom in a little bit so we can see the image even better. Here we have it, our before and then after.